Mandating morally flawed heroes in children's book and films improves the moral development of children by making them have a more realistic understanding of the world and developing social empathy. Simplistic, flawless role models are less relatable because no human is perfect, and therefore seeing protagonists that makes mistakes, learn from them, and then repair or become better afterwards help children be more prepared for the real world. Therefore, our side is so extremely proud to propose this motion. Moving on to our model then. We would have the government pass laws that make it compulsory for all the people involved in making children's media to ensure age-appropriate complexity with their characters and having their protagonists show signs of clear mistakes, weaknesses, or even sometimes being an anti-hero. Firstly, the government can also provide incentives for this kind of media through things such as public arts, film publishing grants, and only being given to media that fits this criteria. Secondly, there will be age-appropriate guidelines explicitly given for what can count as moral flawed, but still all right for children to digest. We would not have morally flawed characters to that extent of media for mature audiences, such as Game of Thrones, the Suicide Squad, or the Joker movies that was released a few years ago. In fact, in the status quo, there are already some children's media that shows flawed characters. The problem is that they are not the most prominent. For example, Prince Zuko in Avatar: The Last Airbender starts off as an exiled prince who is power obsessed and fights against the heroes, but he eventually evolves and grows to understand friendship and relationship and morality, eventually joining Team Avatar to help them fight against his own father, who is evil. We would only be supporting more central characters like Prince Zuko like this. In this debate, we are going to give you two significant points. Firstly is child development in terms of morality, mental health, and empathy. And secondly, my teammate is going to tell you how it is a better and more entertaining storylines in the media. Moving on to our argument then. My argument is about holistic child development. Morally flawed heroes reduce this harmful expectation of perfectionism and teaches children to reason right from wrong more effectively. Firstly, three reasons. Firstly, children are two reasons. Three reasons are impressionable and aspire to be like the heroes they see portrayed in the media. However, it is human to make mistakes, and regardless of the amount of perfect protagonists they see, they will never be able to emulate that fully. That creates a cycle of toxic perfectionism where children in society expect perfectionism and this can never be met. And B, flawed heroes provide concrete, safe examples of protagonists and learning and continue to try even after making mistakes or morally wrong choices. This normalizes to children that persistence is important and it also lowers anxiety that comes to the fear of failure. Secondly, children learn more effectively. Idealized infallible heroes are unrelatable. However, stories with flawed heroes forces children to weigh and carefully consider motives, context, and outcomes. Rather than simple black and white media, this fosters critical thinking in children and also helps build higher order moral judgment. Rather than simple and plain rule following, flawed heroes have more compelling character arcs. They admit errors and make amends, all of which helps children learn to apologize and responsibility as practical moral skills. Thirdly, it makes children more empathetic and understand of their peers. Flawed heroes encourages children to think from the perspective of other people and raises skepticism over simplistic moral narratives, which is imperative for cultivating a more tolerant society. The world is complex and very rarely are people inherently bad or immoral. Conditions such as structural oppression, discrimination, and even propaganda may force people into certain actions or paint them as horrible crimes of accusation committed by minorities. 3 points are impact. Flawed heroes combat binary enemy friend thinking, and this is a lifelong benefit that it helps making children a lot less susceptible to be travelers or intolerant framings later in their life. Secondly, understanding that heroes can be imperfect prepares children for the future so that they are more able to critique leaders and institutions. Lastly, it helps children have better ethical judgment and also reduces the likelihood of mental health harm. For all these reasons, we are so proud to propose.
My name is Mei. I'm the first speaker from the opposition side. What's more important than flows are compassion. There are two main reasons for this. First reason is children get confused about the difference between right and wrong. Young children are at the stage where they are beginning to understand what is right and wrong. If heroes who lies, cheat, or are violent are future children will be confused and wonder, is it okay a hero to do bad things? This poses a risk of undermining their moral foundation. Especially young children learn about society through clear standards of this is good and this is bad. If a hero who behaves badly is portrayed in a positive light at that stage, they will not be able to fully understand the consequences and background of their actions, and their judgment of right and wrong itself will become unclear. This may have an impact on their later relationship and understanding of rules. The second reason is the disappearance of a children's idol. For children, heroes are a symbol of dream, goal, and hope. Having someone who is righteous and strong gives them courage and make the want to do the right thing. However, if there are only flawed heroes, children may feel that there is no one that I can look up to. Through heroes, children can imagine the ideal person they want to be. However, if heroes repeatedly emphasize only their flaws, children will lose sight of the ideal they should aspire to, to and their motivation to strive, and so the right thing will weaken. As a result, heroes may no longer function as symbol of hope and goals. We propose a continuation of the statu quo dominances of simple moral frameworks in children's media that are teach children base normal and morality and how to distinguish between good and bad behavior. Basic normals mean that we should teach children to be polite to others and that certain things such as stealing or hurting others is always wrong. Obviously, there will still be some media that reflects moral floated heroes such as Robin Hood stories. However, we should not require it. For these reasons, I oppose this motion.
The proposition side in my speech, I'm going to give out our team's argument about better and more entertaining storylines. And then I'm going to move to some rebuttals of our opponent's arguments. So better and more entertaining storylines. Stories with heroes who have flaws make more interesting plots in media and create stories that are harder to stop watching or reading. A flaw creates a fight inside the hero character via yourself. This makes the story feel tense even when there is no outside enemy. A hero's poor decision or going on weakness becomes something that keeps the audience guessing. Will they beat or not? Will they success or not? The certainly keeps people hooked and caring. Inner flaws are key to building high skates and forward motion in the story's journey. For example, when young readers follow Harry Potter's quick emotional choices about later regret, they practice thinking about reasons and results rather than just copying a perfect role model. This leads them to think and talk about why Harry Potter did what he did and what he could have done instead. Similarly, in The Lion King, Simba running from his duty because of guilt isn't just a very to an easy, happy ending. It's the main support of the story that makes his return and change feel emotionally strong. Heroes with moral flaws create learning moments about right and wrong. Kids see how actions lead to results and can talk about hard choices instead of just being told one moral rule. Studies and opinions on children's and students' book say that good modern stories with unclear right and wrong situations help kids feel build an ethics of understanding, and support overall well-being when used well. Asking for heroes with moral flaws helps show morality by letting minority characters be deep and central, not always shown as simple bad guys. This cuts down on harmful stereotypes and feels more true to life. When minority characters get to be leading roles with flaws, the audience practices seeing things from from their point of view. They have to think about the character's seasons, situation, and growth instead of quickly labeling them as a threat. This weekend hidden stereotypes because it replaced an easy villain tag with a real seeming person who has both good and bad sides. Without this, minorities like poor people, disabled people, or racial minorities often appear only as symbols or as simple evil characters. For example, like the Joker in Batman stories before the 2019 Joker movie. And moving on to some rebuttals. Our opponents have said that students might be confused about right or wrong, and it could be it's a big impact on relationships and rules. But we believe that this argument doesn't stand because students can learn better, and they won't, because flawed heroes are heroes that's not so perfect, and it doesn't have a perfect model, and students can learn better on their because students obviously students know how to seek this problem as right or wrong. And within the heroes, for example, a hero has some mistakes, but they try to they did some teamwork, and they have friends to support them, so they successfully use solutions to solve this problem. So students can learn in this and know that this is the right thing, that I should study it. And also they also said that flawed heroes is kind of like a symbol of dream, goal, and hope. But if there's flawed heroes inside stories and movies, students will feel that no one to look up to. But if our opponents already know that flawed heroes is as a symbol of dream, goal, and hope, then also they should know that students should learn that even if they have sad or angry feelings, and they didn't do something so perfect, then they should know that this is also okay. They don't need to feel so bad and feel so sad about it. So in conclusion, we believe that flawed heroes is it benefits students to look up, and it benefits students to learn right and wrong. And in conclusion, proud to propose. Thank you.
Panel, a great indication of when a case that cannot stand is one where the main contingency has not even been mentioned in their first or second speaker, let alone expanded upon. Judge, this is Proposition's world. The entirety of Proposition's case rests upon the assumption that children are able to actually comprehend and understand the intricacies of morally flawed heroes. They assume this innate ability to comprehend complex moral philosophies of morally flawed heroes. Therefore, we are so proud today to oppose the motion that this House would require movies and books for children to include morally flawed heroes. Two pieces of rebuttal then. Firstly, the affirmative has claimed that children need to be exposed to the moral imperfections of the world around us in order to prevent quote-unquote idealism. However, we would tell you that this is not mutually exclusive and that we can get this benefit on our side of the house as well. The reason for this is simple. As children grow up going through the school system and navigating complex relationships, they are inevitably subjected to immoral actions, not only from their peers, but even role models like their parents and guardians, who are their heroes, right? Who are their role models, and they are not perfectly moral either. Therefore, this is not mutually exclusive, and we can get this benefit on our side of the house as well. Secondly, as I have touched on in my intro, most of Proposition's case revolves around the ability of children to comprehend these complicated moral dilemmas. We will tell you that they cannot for a few reasons. Firstly, children, unlike adults, have not seen enough of the world to distinguish between what is a true moral dilemma and simply just committing immoral actions. This leads to children misinterpreting these heroes' actions, which not only negates, but reverses all of the benefits from Proposition. Secondly, this is especially important to younger children who are heavily influenced by the role models and favorite heroes and are unable to draw the correct conclusion from the material that they are fed. Okay, therefore, the main contingency of their case does not hold true, and the majority of their points cannot stand, right? But even if you do not believe this, there is still more material that we have. Firstly, an extension on First Affirmative's point. First Affirmative has said that there is a clear distinction of good or bad that is crucial for children in the status quo. Two reasons why this is important then. A, for children who are gullible and easily swayable, moral clarity and urgency is of the utmost concern. And once they do develop bad habits, it's likely irreversible and will follow them for a long time. And we do concede that it is possible for these children to adopt these by other means, but we will tell you we still have an obligation to minimize the chance of them developing bad habits. B, even if you do not believe this panel, I will ask you once again to consider the purpose of heroes. They're not meant to teach empathy, understanding, or external factors. They're not meant to teach empathy and understanding. External factors like parents and friends can do that. They are simply meant to be something that children can copy off and something for entertainment value, which I will touch on in my substantive. My substantive is that it limits freedom of expression for writers. Three mechanisms for this. Creative diversity is crucial to good storytelling. Sure, sometimes diverse and morally unclear heroes can be useful in some tales, but the crucial distinction is that sometimes moral clarity and directness is required for the best effect in a story for entertainment value too. We still have those heroes. We still have heroes like Robin Hood or Batman that are flawed under both sides of the house. It's just that we wouldn't always require them. That way we can get the best of both worlds and all the benefits that props claims while not sacrificing moral clarity. This also flips proposition's substantive on quality of entertainment. As we have told you, different stories benefit from different heroes, and limiting these to simply morally flawed heroes takes away this choice and damages the entertainment value of these stories. Just imagine a Superman that sometimes kills people, or Frodo Baggins that gives up on his journey halfway through. These do not benefit from morally flawed heroes in any way, and we will tell you the entertainment value is better under outside of the house. And also, this also limits heroes to morally. This also represents an attack on author creativity that we oppose and will not stand for. The basic right of freedom of speech should always be upheld, and the state has no place in limiting the creativity of writers and the message they want to send. So, in conclusion, at the end of this debate, what should you believe? First, under our side of the house, hero role models remain effective figures from whom children can genuinely learn positive values. Secondly, that the model increases the risk of children developing immoral habits. Third, that the benefits that proposition claims, such as empathy and realism, are not exclusive because we can get them through alternative means. And fourth, that we can support the right to freedom of speech, whereas they do not. And finally, that children are unable to fully grasp the moral complexity of these characters, which completely negates the benefits that proposition claims. For this reason, I'm so proud to oppose the motion.
So in this speech, I'm gonna rebut our opponent's points and still rebut our team's points, and show why we win this environment. But so starting with refuting our opponent's first point is that our opponent's point is that kids need to right or wrong, and but like, just for example, for a novel or fiction, like all these people who are just morally best, and there will be no criminals or stuff like this. But then how will the children know who is good and who is bad? Like the bad people doesn't have criminals or do something bad, and the good people like they all act good, and it's insane to figure out who is good or bad. Um uh and uh and also like morally flawed heroes should is the kind of the best can can create the most benefit for the authors, for example, in the Japanese animation, like the Demon Slayer, like Akazan, who is like the best villain ever born in this world, but he's still and he is a morally flawed hero, morally flawed villain, and some of the best main characters, like the Kamal Hanjiro, like he still speak bad words, and but he is the kind of the best main character. So like so in some ways, the morally flawed characters are the best and the most popular heroes, and in some ways. And our other point is that heroes need to teach the children's uh like morally flawed heroes teach children the bad thing, but like the children to act like the heroes who are not not the good stuff, but think about like some children like the villains. And the villains are not morally flawed. The villains are morally flawed, and this doesn't work. It will work like same for there's more like there's no morally there is morally flawed heroes, and uh and our point's other point is that children will look up to these good heroes and act like them, but yeah, kind of way it's true, but in another way, children like but children will also be affected by the people away from them, like in a poor family, like they didn't look like the TV or fictions or animations or cartoons, so they didn't know these stuff. And yeah, and a lot of families now they doesn't use this TV because they focus on social media, and social medias in the social medias, they still have these stuff. They still have this morally flawed hero. They still have morally flawed because everyone in the social media is different from each other, and they will still have bad words. Um. So now starting with rebuilding. Our team's first point is that stories of small heroes lead to more compelling narratives in media makes more makes more stories, and I have proven that. Well, I have proven this before in my speech. So for these reasons, probably post.
Yes, please. So on our set of proposition, we believe that we should not make morally imperfect characters mandatory because of the following reasons we have mentioned are substantive, which I'll not go too in depth into. So for the clashes I'll be analyzing today, the first clash is whether or not children will understand these heroes at all. The second clash is happiness vs the education of children, and the third clash is whether or not a good story needs a morally imperfect character. So for the first clash of whether or not children will understand these heroes at all, us as proposition has stated that children lack the cognitive capability, and the mental capacity to understand the depth of these heroes, and may even misinterpret them and take away that bad actions are okay. And opposition has given limited to none rebuttal to any of this at all. So to this we say that in this clash we win this clash because they have not given any valid rebuttal to this, and because we win this clash um the all of opposition proposition's benefits gets reduced because the children won't even understand the characters and the moral dilemma, and instead they will actually take more harm from the morally flawed accepted.
What our side is saying is that we believe that when people makes mistake, what we teach as the kids are that when you make a mistake, we fix the mistake. Not saying that all of mistakes that whether big or small is okay.
Yes, I will address this in my second clash analysis. So for the second clash analysis, happiness vs education of children, we say proposition as opposition, we say that these stories are for happiness and not as much for learning, and and proposition says that the education of children is more important. However, this is not exclusive to them, because on our side even without morally imperfect heroes, which may be misinterpreted, children naturally as they grow up will encounter morally imperfect role models and figures in their lives, such as their parents, because all humans aren't perfect in themselves, and and it's it's actually not necessary for morally flawed heroes to exist in order for them to learn the same message that they can get without the risk. In fact, because with real human learning from these real humans, they can understand better, and if they have a question, they can actually ask them instead of just watching it from the screen and not having someone to talk to about any questions they have about these moral flaws. And lastly, for the last clash, whether or not a good story needs morally imperfect characters. Um, we we win this clash because we've stated that we win this clash because we've given clear rebuttals, and we've stated that sometimes a good story needs polarization and a clear side of what's good and bad. If it's too nuanced, as we stated before in the first clash analysis, they might not even understand it, and it might not be entertaining to the children. And proposition has stated to this that sometimes it can leave the children waiting. It can leave the children waiting and like being on the edge of their seats, not knowing what's going to come next. Are they going to succeed or are they going to fail? This can still. However, this is not exclusive to their side, because this can still come on our side, because when we say morally perfect, it doesn't mean that they're omnipotent and they have the ability to do anything in the world. They can still fail even though they are morally perfect and they try to do the right thing. So we win this clash. We win this clash, and we win this debate overall, and that's why we've never been prouder to oppose. Thank you.
Debate is about whether you are willing to trade off an entire point of like heroes as role models and for a so-called claim of realism and social empathy, which, as I will explain, has been nicely refuted by all of our speakers, and that is why we are so proud to oppose today. A few additional clashes and a summary then. The first clash seen in this debate is whether morally flawed heroes will actually teach children anything that they cannot get from external sources. We have given you two responses to this at both first, second, and third. We have told you in first, second, and third that children often cannot comprehend moral complexity of these morally flawed heroes, and we flipped this and told you that they would be confused and choose to commit bad actions. Panel, note that proposition has not even attempted to rebut this. Even if you do not believe this, we also told you that children can learn compassion, empathy, and realism in everyday life, not just in heroes. As such, we should take this clash, and this should also negate most of proposition's benefits. Even if you do not believe this, we still have another clash that we win. The second clash is on whether morally flawed heroes actually cause bad actions in children, and we have already told you that they do in all of our three speaker positions. Again, as our first speaker has correctly pointed out, and our second has expanded on, children are gullible and prone to influence. We have told you that under our side of the house, children are allowed and able to fully rely upon heroes to learn about and mimic when developing their own morals, and how that is lost in proposition. We have also proven to you that for children's heroes, moral clarity is most important, and for that reason, we should also take this clash. The last clash is entertainment value. Proposition has told you that they create more complicated and intricate storylines, but we have already told you in our counter model that these stories will still exist and will only be used if the context of the story requires it. And we have also told you that it will always be beneficial to entertainment value to have a choice. And there's always some stories that can benefit from morally perfect hero, take Superman, Frodo Baggins, etc. Therefore, we win this clash too. So in conclusion, we have not only completely ridiculed all of Proposition's points, but we also have completely supported all of our substances, which they did not even attempt to touch. Every one of our clashes and rebuttal has been emphasized and pointed out in every one of our speeches and was not even attempted to be refuted. And as such, we benefit every stakeholder in this debate in many more ways than Proposition ever can, and therefore we are so proud to oppose.
Judge, what we told you in this debate is that when you have a flawed protagonist and has made storyline into problem-solving exercises, that's what our opponent has done. We reduce the harm on real world because social and media stereotypes can actually contribute to real life and policy outcomes. But most importantly, except for the storyline, we had told you why is it really important for children to have flawed heroes. Firstly, Judge, what we want to clarify and say in this debate is that what we teach kids is that everybody makes a mistake. What we need to do is actually not to tell them to get away with these kind of mistakes, but also to how to teach them how to not make the same mistakes. After like how to not make these mistakes after they have made it once. our side of the debate has our side of the house has definitely deepened the debate, because we are talking about how it can actually teach these kind of children the morals that actually can impact them later on in their life, rather than our opponent keeps on talking about how it is good for entertaining and stuff like that. Our side is also really entertaining, because our opponent is only well, black and white, but our side has told you that they have made the storyline into problem solving exercises, but our side has not just black and white. We also have a gray side, which actually is what a more interesting storyline, right? What we told you is that when glorified flawless heroes feed idealization and critical loyalty, it helps children to have better ethical judgment, and also reduces the likelihood of mental health. It also teaches them how to fix their mistakes after they've done a bad thing. And our side has completely deepened the debate to another level. Therefore, this is a complete proposition ballot. Extremely proud to propose.